Hi, I am Josh Barlow. It is March 19th, 2018. This is my speech project for Miss McCurdy Jennings' class of American Literature at GNTC. Um, so, I want to go right into it. And in a culture or in a society culturally desensitized to a wide range of emotion in both fictional and real settings, students need the emotional reactions incurred by thought-provoking stories and poetry for a better, more balanced sense of self. So what I mean by this is throughout our daily life in many, many of our homes now, we come across uh, different emotional reactions, both very negative and extremely positive on a day-to-day basis, whether it be through television shows or um, even stories that we read. But I believe that the stories that we read and then specifically discuss in a classroom setting are extremely important, and specifically the stories that invoke emotional reactions are extremely important because as we see more and more of these stories with highs and lows emotionally, we start to feel less. Throughout your day, you may hear news stories about people being killed, whether it be war or simply civilian crime. And more often than not, most of us will simply continue the task we were doing before, or it'll affect us in some small way, but we continue on with our lives, and after a short time we often forget it because it is not happening directly to us. So I believe some of that emotion has been lost through continued experience through mundane activities such as uh, watching TV specifically. So Chickamauga by Ambrose Bierce, I believe, is a good addition to the class syllabus for American literature because this story takes us from a very high down to a very low, and then we are required not only to bring that in and process it, but then to also discuss it. So we have to process it further and express it, thereby resolving some of that emotional feeling. Now, in the article by The Atlantic from Andrew Simmons, uh, we see him dissect a lot more deeply into this idea that through books from high school and on, it's important to have stories that react or that invoke an emotional reaction in people, and then to talk about it. Um, and through Chickamauga specifically, we see a young boy, a 6-year-old boy, wanting to follow in his father's military footsteps. So he ventures out into a forest on his own, trusty wooden sword in hand, slaying imaginary foes left and right as he moves deeper and deeper into the woods. And eventually he comes across a small, terrifying, but cuddly bunny, and it absolutely terrifies the child. He takes off running and eventually falls down, cries himself to sleep. So at this point, Bierce does a fantastic job of bringing up that innocence and that childlike joy of exploration and freedom and the ability to try and live up to everybody's expectations, and we are raised up emotionally with that. So at this point we are at a very, very high. Then as the boy awakens, he is surrounded by dead, dying men, mutilated from battle as they try to claw their way through this forest to safety from a battle that has just happened. So Bierce does a good job here, very vividly describing the gory scenes that occur here, and it takes you from, again, that very high level of emotion to a very low, negatively charged emotion. So we are forced to experience a very wide range in this, and in this story, we definitely get the full gamut of emotion there. And towards the end of the story, we're dropped even just that little bit lower, as the boy finds his mother, who had been frantically searching for him, dead, and the house that he had lived in burned, likely from the approaching enemy army. So again, this story conjures up a lot of emotion, and in a classroom setting, I believe that is perfect because we are forced to then discuss this. So we process it and then regurgitate our own feelings in a way that everybody in the setting is able to perhaps, shed light on a new perspective. And I believe that's how progress works in society. So with this, we see the story is a full experience, and I believe that makes it a good addition to the classroom setting, even though it is a little more horrific. But war is a very important topic, not just in our day and throughout all of time. War is a controversial topic, and it should be, people should know where they stand on either side, and this story specifically helps some people find that. And especially because it is through the eyes of a child, we can empathize with the child, and we're forced to feel for him and put ourselves into his shoes, which then precipitates the discussion about war and how terrible it can be for those caught in the middle. So I believe this piece works well within the standard for any student to read, and more importantly, to discuss. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully in the future we can use this story and help teach other students. Thank you very much.